Hello, everyone. We have Tess Meyer here with us today. And to start things off, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into screenwriting.
Sure. I actually studied it at uni. I never thought I could do it. It was a last minute course change when I discovered it as I was applying for college. And I didn't know you could study that in Australia. And I thought you had to be in the US to do anything like that. And so when I found it, I was thrilled and I switched my choice and remarkably got in. Um, and 6 to 10 years later, they they started paying me to do it, which was very nice. Yeah, I probably the same way most people get into things. You do your best, you learn as much as you can, or you don't, and then you have a friend who is working on some low budget projects who says, "Hey, we need a helper," and you sort of start pitching in, and then you can't stop because it's way too much fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of went in sideways though via production.
Huh. That's pretty fun to hear. Now, next question. How did you come to become a part of Studio 100 and was it like working for them?
Oh, sure. Well, I got my start in animation thanks to Flying Bark Productions. I started there as a production coordinator. I basically walked into their office for an interview for a job as a development producer, which I was wildly underqualified for. Um, and the boss at the time saw that and did not offer me the job. But I kept pestering him with emails about ideas, and once I saw how fun working in an animation studio would be, I kind of got really stuck on the idea, and I wouldn't go away. And eventually, he relented and gave me a job as a production coordinator. So thanks to that team, I kind of really learned start to finish the full process of working in animated film and television. I took notes for everybody, for all the animation directors, and I would relay stuff to the storyboard team. I wound up doing a lot of casting with the voice artists. Um, Basically anything that needed doing, I did, and it gave me a really solid grounding in the art form. While I myself do not animate or even really draw, um, I fell in love with it, and so yeah, so the Flying Bark team, which of course falls under the umbrella of the Studio 100 company, really supported that and um, saw my passion for it and kind of offered me sort of contract after contract, where I was worked my way from production coordinating to a development associate, and then to development producer, which was incredible because at that point it's really overseeing ideas as they come into the studio, and working with all of the creative teams to kind of foster them and bring them to life, and then to writing. So working with the Flying Bach team was incredible. That there's no way I would be where I am now were it not for their support and encouragement.
Hmm. Speaking of voice acting, you've dabbled in it a bit?
Yeah. Um, it happens by accident a lot in this industry, I think. So my first day, they needed someone to record what's called a scratch voice, which is like a template that you would record a line for a character that before a voice performer comes in and does the job of doing that, just to give like a guide for timing or for intent, from the director to storyboard artists as they create an animatic um, of the show. So and sometimes they need a new line recorded, but there's a few days between one delivery and the actual record. So someone from the studio will often step in and do a quick little voice record. And I did that on my first day at the office. I had no idea what I was doing. Someone handed me a Zoom mic and shoved me in a relatively soundproof closet and said, "Give this a go." And then I guess I just did a bunch of that. And I think it's a thing that sort of naturally happens, sometimes if you wind up doing a bunch of lines, people start to hear your voice as the character's voice. And so then I started picking up auditioning for roles and picking up roles and being it was really fun, but I'm by no means up there with the pros, but I really love it and would love to do more of it.
So, what has been a standout project in your time in the industry for you?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry if that's a
I
hard one.
Well, it's a really hard one because I kind of there's so like everything you work on touches you in a and changes your career in a completely different way. Um, my my first kind of leading role, co-leading role with another writer who is I've looked up to my entire career, Finn Edquist, was script co-producing on 100% Wolf, the Book of Hath. And that was a game changer for me because it gave me the opportunity to kind of work with a team of writers to create the series. And I had never imagined that I would be in a position of leadership on a team of writers of such a high caliber. So that was both a massive humbling and learning experience, and also just really great. Yeah, I think that that role taught me a lot about what it really takes to bring everything together, and it was just it was very inspiring to watch everybody work and everybody deliver their best work.
As a screenwriter, what's the approach like between live action and animation? Like, how does that interchange? Like, how's that change between medium?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Hmm. I mean, to me, story is story, and I feel that uh, it's difficult. It's really just medium, isn't it? I think understanding limitations of both mediums probably impacts stuff. So, in animation, there are certain things that we might consider avoiding because they may be cost prohibitive, such as, interaction with water. For certain shows and projects, you wouldn't, it's a problem. Obviously, it's not a problem for Disney's Moana, because the whole show is based around that, and they have really leaned into that and developed incredible technology around it. But I think probably more from a logistics standpoint than a storytelling standpoint. I I love the idea of writing in animation. I love writing in animation because there is a certain sense of anything is possible in this world. There are some stories that you would really want to tell in animation for the physical elements of character movement and things like that. But ultimately, story is story. So it always surprises me, when we look at things, at points of difference between the two, because I don't know. For me, it's a good story is a good story, and it finds a home in the medium that's practical for it, where
Hmm.
it's meant to live.
You founded Fluffy Dinosaur. What is it like running your own business for screenwriting and development?
Terrifying. I've always wanted to be a writer. And I was very lucky that the company that I was working for encouraged that and supported that and offered me opportunities to branch into that. And my husband got a job overseas, and I then needed to leave my job, which really just forced me out into writing as an independent professionally, because I I had to I didn't really want to leave the role I was in. I loved it, and I didn't really want to be anywhere else. And I thought, if I'm going to leave, it should be for something very meaningful and purposeful, which was starting my own thing. So yeah, so I went out, I drew my own logo, and I slapped it on a piece of paper and said, "All right, this is what it's going to be." And then from that point, it was really about um, a lot of help from a lot of friends who said, "Hey, we know a show that's gotten up and running, and We can't take an episode. Do you want to do it? A very talented writer who I had worked with on a number of shows, Charlotte Rose Hamlin. She's a remarkable Australian screenwriter. She had some work with a company out of Singapore, and unfortunately, she was really booked out, and she
Mm.
couldn't take it up. So she said they need someone with development experience, which I had. Would you like to do this? And I said, yes, please, thank you, Charlotte. Uh, and and that was the beginning of a great relationship with a company, with two companies actually, Infinite Frameworks and Scroll Animation out of Singapore, who are wonderful humans. And we built a series called Little Wild together, which that then kind of grew into its own little mega force of 3 seasons and a number of specials and a couple of spin-off short form series for online as well. Um, so it's been one thing kind of leads to another thing, and that's sort of how that all goes about. And of course, then as soon as I got back to Australia, it was really fantastic timing. I heard from the team at Flying Barkers that they were getting up the second series of 100% Wolf, and would I like to join that team as the co-script co-producer, and so I took on that role. So it's really interesting. It's a very different world from being in a studio environment where you're kind of bouncing around between meetings and from project to project, and kind of particularly in a development role, running around picking up any kind of bits and pieces that need doing. And working with big teams, to kind of being yourself in your own little portal office, waiting for the next Zoom. Um, but it is wonderful getting to work with talented people from everywhere. Um, yeah, there's something really beautiful about that, and finding connections between companies and projects, and creatives that kind of know and love working with each other, and that's pretty rewarding and fantastic.
Lastly, any future endeavors you would like to share, if you can?
Oh, sure.
Hmm.
I've been really, really busy for the last 5 years on a number of projects, which is great. And I recently recognized that I hadn't written an original in about 4 or 5 years. I've been working on a lot of shows, and it's very bad for a writer to not be writing original work constantly. And I had not been doing that. So I have recently wrapped up my pilot for an original series, which I will be pitching around. Very excited about it. Um, and yeah, I've been working a lot on that, knuckling down and kind of carving out extra time to do it because you've got to. So yeah, that's the next thing for me. I can't talk about any other projects, but that's what that's something I can share.
Thank you so much for all this. Really, it was a pleasure having you.
So lovely to
Um,
be here. Thank you, Jacob.
thank you all so much for watching. This has been Tess Mayer, and y'all stay ultimate.